with that, you've got to have a willingness to be comfortable with the mess, because there will be mess. But what's the game? Mess. Now, I'm not advocating every drill is all over the place, but the game is a series of mess. And we're not the aesthetics police. It's not our job to make it look beautiful. It's our job to teach, to allow them to decision make, and for them to have the tools and skills and understanding to play. So if every one of your drills is perfect, it always starts the same way, it always finishes the same way, that's not the game. So as a coach, are you willing to lose a bit of control? Are you worried that you're running practice and Laurie's on the sideline going, God, this thing looks like a rebel, what's he doing? If you are, you've got to change that mentality. You've got a purpose, you've got a process, and stay with it. If your director of coaching or a senior coach or a coaching colleague is there, they'll figure it out. They'll know what you're doing. It's not about pretty drills. It's not about the aesthetics of coaching. We have to be able to be comfortable with the mess a little bit and have them organise themselves in the mess. How often do we do this when we're teaching offensive structure? Whatever it is, flow, triangle, whatever you want to do, motion. And we say, stop, freeze. All right? And then we go, okay, we give them the instruction, then we get them to set it up perfectly again, and then we say, righto, go. Because that happens all the time in games, doesn't it? The ball goes to the wrong place, and they get to stop, and everyone sets up again, they throw. Oh, no, it doesn't. It's not high school basketball in North Carolina, all right? So we've got to give them the tools to extricate themselves from the mess. One of my great mentors, he hated the ball going to the corner. It's probably changed a little bit now, but he hated the ball going to the corner. But if the ball went to the corner, he would always yell, but he'd never stop the drill. And as a young coach, I always stop the drill and say, Terry, don't throw it to the corner. Now, bring it back out here. Well, we never figured out how to get the ball out of the corner. Yes, we don't want it there for certain elements of the drill, right? So you might say, freeze. All right, we don't want the ball here, blah, blah, blah. All right, when I say go, you've got 4 seconds to score. Go. And see if they can make some decisions, both offensively and defensively. Because decision making is such an important element of our game, both sides of the ball. The best players are the best decision makers. There's not an elite player on the planet that's not a fantastic decision maker. It's just not the case. People talk about LeBron. He's a great physical specimen. He's a great scorer. All that stuff. He's an unbelievable decision maker, both sides of the ball. Unbelievable. Doesn't get the credit because he's not a point guard and he's not the traditional John Stockton, but he's a great decision maker. The NBA defensively is a series of decisions. Illegal defense. Can I help here? What's the rotation? How do we guard the pick and roll? How do we guard Chris Paul in the pick and roll? How do we guard Russell Westbrook in the pick and roll? That's decisions. Yes, it's coaching. 100% it's coaching. But it's educated athletes that have been given the tools that can make worthwhile decisions and communicate effectively on the court. Really appreciate, as I said before, you coming out for the clinic. I know that basketball, when I worked for Runch in Melbourne for a couple of years, I could never get over how busy basketball was in Melbourne. I could never get over how often we played, how often we trained, and how long the season was. So I get that you guys are in the midst of craziness. So I really appreciate you giving up your time to come out and share some information. Being a clinic demonstrator is probably the worst job in all of basketball. But I thought these guys were good because I'm trying to move at warp speed to get through 10 or 15 drills, and I expect them to keep up. And I thought they did a really good job. And the great thing about them, they made change, didn't they? They went from the very first thing we did, and then it was starting to flow over. So can we thank our athletes, please?